ever felt trapped in a life that no longer fits? Amal did, until one night changed everything. Discover how a chance encounter leads to a weekend of passion, secrets, and self-discovery. Will she return to her old life, or embrace the thrill of the unknown? Like and subscribe to find out. On that Friday night, what should have been the start of a flawless weekend turned into a scene of frustration in my living room. My voice was raised, anger bubbling inside me. My husband, as usual, brushed off my feelings, treating my frustrations as mere inconveniences. "You're overreacting, Amal," he said, grabbing his car keys. "I don't have time for this right now." "Of course you don't," I snapped, crossing my arms. "You never do." He exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "I'm going to meet the guys. Don't wait up." And just like that, he was gone, leaving me standing there, fuming, my hands clenched at my sides. I grabbed my phone and immediately started texting my girlfriends. Within minutes, they responded with exactly what I needed to hear. "Forget him. Come out with us. Let's actually have fun tonight." I didn't hesitate. If he could go out and enjoy himself without a second thought, so could I. An hour later, I was stepping out of a black car in front of one of LA's hottest clubs, the Bass. From the music vibrating through the pavement beneath my heels, my friends were already waiting in line. Dressed to kill, their eyes lighting up when they saw me. "You look amazing," one of them said, giving me a once-over. And I did. My dress was tight in all the right places, hugging my curves, my heels making my legs look impossibly long. I felt good, sexy, powerful. The moment we stepped inside, the energy hit me like a wave. The dim lights, the intoxicating scent of perfume and alcohol, the pulse of the music, everything about this place screamed temptation. We made our way to the bar, ordering drinks, laughing, losing ourselves in the moment. And then I felt it ice on me. I turned slightly, scanning the crowd, and that's when I saw them. Two men standing apart from the chaos of the club, radiating confidence in a way that made my pulse quicken. They weren't like the other men here, desperate, eager, trying too hard. No, these two exuded power, control. It was in the way they stood, the way they watched me with dark, knowing eyes, as if they had already decided how this night would end. They were tall, strikingly handsome, their smooth, dark skin glistening under the lights. Their bodies were carved from pure muscle, every inch of them radiating strength and dominance. They were the kind of men who took what they wanted without asking, and I wanted to be taken. I forced myself to look away, to pretend like I wasn't affected, but it was useless. My body had already betrayed me, my skin tingling, my breath unsteady. Then, as if reading my thoughts, they moved. Before I could even process it, they were beside me, their presence overwhelming. One of them leaned in, his voice smooth as silk. "You look like you could use another drink." He handed me a glass, his fingers grazing mine, sending a spark straight through me. I hesitated for only a second before accepting it, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "Join us," the other man said, nodding toward a private table in the corner of the club. My friends nudged me, giggling, whispering encouragement, and I didn't refuse. I followed them, my heart pounding, my body already surrendering to the night. As I followed them to their table, I felt the heat of their presence surrounding me, the sheer power they exuded, making my pulse race. My friends trailed behind, giggling, throwing me knowing glances, but I barely noticed them anymore. My entire focus was on them. We reached a VIP section, a secluded booth tucked away from the main crowd. The music still pulsed through the air, but here it felt more intimate, more charged. The men moved with a confidence that sent a thrill through me. They didn't need to fight for attention. It came to them effortlessly. One of them, the taller of the two, slid into the booth first, motioning for me to sit beside him. His eyes burned into mine, dark and unreadable, filled with something that made my stomach tighten. His build was unreal: broad shoulders, thick arms, the kind of strength that promised things I shouldn't be thinking about. I'm Darius, he said, his voice a deep rumble. And I'm Malik, the other one added, his smirk slow and deliberate as he leaned back in his seat, watching me like he was enjoying the way my body responded to them. He was just as built, his sharp jawline and full lips enough to make my breath hitch. Am I said, my voice smoother than I expected, even as my heart pounded. So Amal, Malik said, his fingers lazily running along the rim of his glass. What brings a woman like you out tonight? I let out a soft laugh, shaking my head. Let's just say my husband had other plans, so I decided to have some of my own. They exchanged a look, subtle, unreadable, but the smirk on Darius's lips deepened. His loss, he murmured. My breath hitched at the way he said it, low and confident, making my thighs press together instinctively. The conversation flowed effortlessly, laced with flirtation, with tension so thick I could feel it pressing against my skin. They were charming, smooth, but there was something else beneath it, something darker, something dangerous, and I wanted more. I leaned in slightly, letting my fingers trail over the base of my glass, watching them through my lashes. So tell me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, are you two always this generous with your attention? Malik chuckled, slow and deep, his eyes locked onto mine. Only when we see something we want. The heat between us sparked, crackled, ready to explode, and I was more than ready to let it. Darius and Malik didn't break eye contact, their gazes heavy, filled with something dark, something dangerous. The way they looked at me made my breath catch, made my pulse pound in my ears. They weren't just flirting, they were hunting, and I was already theirs. Malik leaned in first, his voice a low murmur against my ear. You like being wanted, don't you? A shiver ran down my spine. His lips barely grazed my skin, but the effect was instant heat, flooding through me. My body reacting before my mind could catch up. Darius watched me closely, his smirk slow, knowing. His fingers reached out, tracing the back of my hand resting on the table. The touch was subtle, barely there, but it sent a shiver down my spine. You've been watching us since you walked in, Malik said, his voice smooth yet teasing. And now you're here. I swallowed hard, my hands tightening around my glass. Maybe I was just curious. Malik chuckled, his fingers brushing lightly against my knee under the table. Curiosity can be dangerous, Amal. A thrill rushed through me. The club buzzed around us, music, laughter, flashing lights, but it all faded into the background. The only thing I could focus on was the presence of the two men sitting across from me. Their confidence, the way they carried themselves, the way their attention never wavered. Come with us, Darius murmured, his tone low, assured, now a statement, not a suggestion. And I followed without hesitation. I stood, my breath quickening slightly. I could feel my friends' eyes on me, their knowing smirks, but I barely acknowledged them. Malik took my hand, his grip firm as he led me through the dimly lit club, Darius close behind. We wove through the crowd, past the bodies swaying to the rhythm, past the booths filled with people lost in their own worlds. Then suddenly, I was pressed gently against the cool surface of a hallway door, Darius standing close, his presence commanding. I let out a slow breath as Malik's hand slid down my arms, his touch warm, steady. "You're shaking," Darius murmured, his fingers tilting my chin up so our eyes met. "I'm not scared," I whispered. And I wasn't. I was alive. Malik smirked. "Good." Then, in one smooth motion, Darius leaned in, his lips brushing against mine, slow at first, testing, before deepening, drawing me into something I couldn't pull away from. Malik's breath was at my ear, his hand resting lightly against my back, steadying me as my pulse thundered in my chest. I wasn't thinking about anything else. Not the music, not the crowd outside, just them. Darius's movements were confident, deliberate, every touch igniting something deep within me. Malik's presence was just as intoxicating, his energy crackling in the air between us. And this was only the beginning. Malik's breath was hot against my ear, his fingers tracing slow, teasing patterns along my arms, my waist, my thighs. I was caught between them, their bodies pressing against mine, overwhelming me, making me forget everything else. The music pounded outside, but here, in the dimly lit bathroom, time had slowed. I wasn't thinking about where I was, about the choices I was making. I was feeling every touch, every breath, every ounce of heat radiating between us. Darius's lips trailed down my neck, his stubble rough against my skin, leaving a tingling path of sensation in its wake. I tilted my head back, giving in to the pleasure, my body arching instinctively against him. Malik chuckled, his fingers running through my hair before tilting my chin so I met his gaze. "You like this, don't you?" he murmured, his lips hovering just over mine. I nodded, my breath shaky. "Yes," he smirked, his fingers tightening around my waist. "Then stop pretending you don't." I didn't need to pretend anymore. Malik's lips crashed against mine, his kiss just as fierce as Darius's, but different, more playful, yet just as commanding. My hands moved over him, feeling the hard muscle beneath his shirt, the way his body responded to my touch. Darius didn't back away. Instead, his hands moved lower, gripping my hips, pressing himself against me, the heat of his breath on my neck, Malik's mouth moving over mine, the strength of their bodies surrounding me. I was lost in it, surrendering completely. My phone buzzed in my purse, a sharp, intrusive vibration. I stiffened for the briefest second, my husband, but the moment flickered and passed like a whisper in the wind. I didn't reach for it. I didn't even care. Malik must have noticed my hesitation, because his fingers brushed over my jaw, bringing my gaze back to his. "You're not thinking about him, are you?" I swallowed, my pulse hammering. "No." Darius smirked against my skin. "Good." The phone buzzed again, and I ignored it, because this wasn't a mistake. This was freedom. This was everything I had been craving for so long. Malik's hands tightened on my waist. Darius's lips pressed against my collarbone, and I let myself fall deeper, drowning in the heat, in the pleasure, in them. This night wasn't over, not even close, and I never wanted it to end. I had never felt anything like this before. The intensity, the heat, the way their bodies surrounded me, making me feel small in the best possible way. Darius's strong hands gripped my hips, anchoring me to him, his chest rising and falling in deep, steady breaths. Malik's fingers trailed over my skin, teasing, testing, as if he was unraveling me piece by piece. I couldn't think anymore. Didn't want to think. The music outside throbbed like a heartbeat. But inside this dimly lit space, time had folded in on itself. There was no club, no people, no husband, only them. Darius's lips were hot against my skin, tracing a slow path down my neck, his breath sending delicious shivers through me. Malik tilted my chin, forcing my eyes to meet his as he smirked, his gaze dark and knowing. "You're ours tonight," he murmured. The words sent a thrill rushing through me, setting every nerve on fire. I wanted to be theirs. My phone buzzed again, louder this time, more insistent. I turned my head slightly, saw the screen glowing from inside my purse. My husband's name flashed across it. For a brief second, a flicker of reality tried to creep in the life waiting for me beyond these walls. The vows I had made, the expectations of who I was supposed to be. But then Darius's fingers traced the curve of my thigh. Malik's lips brushed against my ear, and every rational thought vanished. I reached for my phone, not to answer, but to silence it. The screen went dark, and so did every last ounce of restraint I had left. Darius's hands tightened, pulling me against him, his body firm, solid, unrelenting. "That's more like it," he murmured against my lips. My body ached with anticipation, my breath coming in shallow gasps. Malik chuckled, his fingers running down my spine, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. "You wanted this the second you saw us," he said, his voice low, teasing. I exhaled shakily, nodding. Yes, I needed this. My entire body burned, every inch of me awake in a way I hadn't felt in years. My husband had never touched me like this, never made me feel like I was something to be truly desired. But Darius and Malik tonight, they had all of my attention. Their movements were smooth, assured. Their presence overwhelming in the best way. They didn't hesitate, didn't second guess. They knew I was here, that I wanted this. And they met me with the same energy. And I did want this more than I had ever wanted anything. The room felt smaller, warmer. The air charged with something unspoken. I let go of every thought except this moment, letting them take the lead, letting them guide me into something I hadn't felt in a long time. I wasn't Amal, the wife, anymore. I was free and full of desire, awake, thrilled, completely immersed in the intensity of it all. The outside world faded the music. The distant voices, the flashing lights, none of it mattered now. The only thing I felt was the undeniable pull between us. The way everything slowed to just this. Darius's hand rested firmly on my waist, grounding me, his presence strong, unshakable. I could feel the tension in him, the way his body moved with mine, the way his breath stayed steady but controlled. Malik, standing close, brushed slow, deliberate circles along my wrist with his fingertips. His touch feather light, teasing. His presence was just as commanding, but different, calculated, knowing. They moved in sync, as if they had done this before, as if they already understood exactly what I needed before I even did. "You don't hesitate anymore," Malik murmured, his lips brushing close to my ear, his voice laced with quiet amusement. "I like that." I exhaled shakily, my pulse racing. "Neither do you," Darius smirked, his deep voice sending a low vibration through me. "We knew what you wanted the second we saw you." His fingers traced my jaw, tilting my chin up until our eyes met. Didn't we? I swallowed hard. He was right. From the moment I had noticed them across the room, something in me had shifted. I had wanted this, wanted them. And now, here I was. Malik chuckled, his voice low and knowing. And now, you're here. His fingers slid down my spine, slow, deliberate, sending shivers through me. With us. I bit my lip, nodding. Yes. The word felt like a surrender, a confession, a declaration of exactly what this night was, of exactly what I was doing. And I had never felt so alive. Darius's lips found my collarbone, his kisses slow, lingering, his stubble rough against my skin. Malik traced the curve of my waist with his hands, his fingers pressing into me, firm, possessive. My breath hitched, my body pressing into their touch, craving more, needing more. The room was small, but it felt vast, an endless abyss of heat and temptation, swallowing me whole. Every touch ignited something deep inside me, something reckless, something I had buried for so long I had almost forgotten it was there. And now it was burning. Malik's lips found my shoulder, his breath hot against my skin. You're not thinking about him anymore, are you? My eyes fluttered shut. My husband. My husband, who was probably still out with his friends, laughing, drinking, assuming I was home, asleep, waiting for him like I always did. I should have felt guilt, but I didn't. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for anyone. I was living. I opened my eyes, meeting Malik's gaze. No, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Darius hummed in approval, his hands tightening on my hips. Good. My phone buzzed again, vibrating from inside my purse. I didn't even glance at it. I didn't care. All that mattered was this, the way my body melted between them, the way their hands moved over me, the way my pulse thundered in my ears. Malik's fingers traced my lips, his touch gentle, teasing. Say it, he murmured. I shivered under his touch, my breath catching. Say what? Darius's grip tightened. That you want this. I met their gazes, my heart hammering. I do, I breathed. And then just like that, I was theirs. They didn't wait. They didn't hesitate. Darius's lips crashed against mine, his kiss deep, consuming, his hands roaming over my body as if memorizing every inch. Malik's touch was softer but just as commanding, his fingers sliding through my hair, down my spine, making me tremble beneath them. I surrendered completely, losing myself in the moment, in them. And for the first time in my life, I didn't think, I just felt. By the time Sunday evening arrived, I was stepping back into my house, the air inside feeling different, smaller, colder, almost suffocating. It wasn't my home that had changed, it was me. I had left on Friday as one woman. I returned as someone else. I placed my purse down, my body still humming from the weekend, from the hands that had claimed me, from the whispers that still echoed in my mind. Every step I took through my home felt detached, distant, like I was walking through a life that no longer felt like mine. And then my husband appeared in the doorway, a nervous smile on his face, holding a bouquet of roses. I stared at them for a moment, my expression unreadable. He exhaled, stepping closer. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I tilted my head slightly, waiting. I was an ass on Friday, he continued. I shouldn't have left like that. I shouldn't have dismissed you. You were right to be upset. He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely remorseful. I don't want us to fight like that. I love you, you know? And I want to make it up to you. I blinked. Love me. The words sounded foreign coming from him. Empty, weightless. I had spent years waiting for these kinds of apologies, hoping for change, craving the kind of attention he was suddenly willing to offer, now that he thought I had simply spent the weekend sulking at home. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not relief, not even satisfaction. Just nothing. He extended the flowers, his voice softer now. Let me take you to dinner tonight. Let's just have a nice evening, okay? I took the bouquet from him, staring at the perfect petals, the deep red color rich, beautiful, and utterly meaningless. I lifted my gaze to his, smiled faintly. I forgive you. The relief that passed over his face was almost amusing. I stepped past him, walking down the hallway toward my room. I didn't look back. I closed the door behind me, exhaling, the weight of the weekend pressing into my skin. I placed the flowers on the dresser, untouched, then sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time since stepping into this house, I pulled out my phone. The screen lit up, and there it was, Darius, Malik. A simple contact saved in my phone. A connection to a world I'd just discovered, to a freedom I hadn't known I was missing. They hadn't texted first. They didn't need to, because they knew that I would come back. That all it would take was one message, one call, and I could be in their arms again. Surrendering, burning. I smirked, my fingers hovering over the screen, a rush of excitement curling low in my stomach. Life had returned to its usual rhythm. But now, whenever I wanted, I could make the night mine again. And no one would ever know. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I leaned back against the headboard, my phone resting in my hand, the glow of the screen illuminating my face. The scent of the roses still lingered in the air, but they meant nothing to me. My husband thought a simple apology, a dinner invitation, and a bouquet of flowers could erase years of neglect. He had no idea. I traced my finger over the edge of my phone, staring at the names on my screen. Darius, Malik. My body reacted just seeing them, remembering the way their hands had felt on me, the way their voices had wrapped around me like silk, pulling me into a world where I had no responsibilities. No expectations, only pleasure. I wasn't supposed to crave this, but I did. It wasn't just about the passion, about the way they had taken control, making me feel things I hadn't felt in years. It was about the power of knowing that I could have this whenever I wanted, that there was a world beyond this house, beyond my marriage, where I was more than just a wife, more than just a woman waiting to be noticed. A small smirk played at my lips as I finally opened our message thread. I hadn't texted them yet, but the temptation sat heavy in my chest. What would I even say? That I couldn't stop thinking about them? That every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that dark, heated room, feeling their hands on me, their lips claiming me, their bodies pressing me into something I never wanted to escape? Or should I keep it simple? When can I see you again? I let out a slow breath, placing the phone on my nightstand. Not tonight, but soon. Very soon. I turned off the light and lay back against the pillows, my body still thrumming with the memory of them. My husband was somewhere in the house, thinking everything had gone back to normal. But he had already lost me. And the best part, he didn't even know it.